Hey, all my fantasy football friends. Welcome to the Multiple First Dynasty Football channel here on YouTube. This is Tony coming into your ears here with Greg today. We're going to be talking about some rookie running backs, the most important position in fantasy, the high scoring, the love to force them up the draft board running backs. How you feeling today, Greg?
I'm feeling like there's 12 sleeps till the NFL draft, my friend.
Oh, you
So
didn't. You didn't.
I am very excited. I'm very excited for this draft. I'm very excited for all the rookie drafts that'll be happening the next week um, in your dynasty leagues. So I am very excited about each and every one of these position groups, just to be able to pick out the very best values and maximize what you've got in terms of your draft picks.
Oh yeah, I can't wait, man. I can't wait to get into these RBs. I can't wait to get into the NFL draft, man. I'm Jones, and for the 28th, I'm just looking for ways to pass the time quicker. Like I mentioned before, I started a new job, so that's kind of making my days roll by pretty quickly. But boy, I can't wait to get into it.
Yep, yep. Although we'll probably have to wait one more day to see any of today's players go.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Do you think there's a chance any of our top guys leave in
Sure,
the
there's
first
a
round?
there's a chance, but I think they're more likely to go between 35 and 50.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. So we're going to talk about maybe 15, 20 running backs here, guys. The guys you need to know about, the names you need to hear. Quick reference for you is so when we talk about draft capital that's going to be associated with them, if you don't know, the NFL draft is 3 days long. So Thursday night, round one only. Probably won't see a single back. Day two of the NFL draft on Friday is rounds two and three. And any running back taken on day two, and we'll use that term day two pick throughout the video. Just think second or third round, and those are kind of the backs we really like for fantasy. They have a much higher hit rate. And then day three pick is going to be rounds four, five, six, and seven, the last rounds. Um, there is a pretty significant difference between a back taken in the fourth round and a back taken in the third round as far as a hit rate. So you're talking about a day two pick versus a day three pick. A day three pick is effectively a dart throw, and a day two pick is someone who you'll probably be able to at least start occasionally throughout their rookie season in your RB2 or flex. But yeah, man, without further ado, let's get into it. Number one running back on both mine and Greg's board, and most people's boards out there, Brees Hall, the Iowa State tailback. Brees is 6'1", 220 pounds. He ran a blazing 4.3940, and he will be 21 years old when the season begins here this fall. So I like Brees a lot. I don't love Brees. I like Brees. Where are you
Ah,
at with him?
I like Brees a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, no, I loved Jonathan Taylor
Hmm.
and I loved J.K. Dobbins, um, and I like Brees a lot. But then again, I also only liked Najee a lot, right? So this is a very good prospect. He can do pretty much everything. He's the first guy since Ricky Williams to win back-to-back Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year awards. He is well-rounded. He is a good receiver and a good enough pass blocker. He is an immediate bell cow back. Um, there are very few holes in his game. He's got the long speed. Um, there are not many things about Brees Hall uh, that aren't very good. He may not be special,
Yeah.
but you're going to put him in if you draft him and just plug him in your lineup, you're going to get like 4 or 5 really good seasons. Maybe not top 5 seasons, but probably top 12 seasons, 12 to 15 seasons. Um, and then, and then some running back 2 seasons as he gets old. And like, that's a good investment of your very high first round pick. I don't have any problem taking him at the 101 or the 102, depending on what happens at quarterback. and with draft capital. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's hit a bit of a crescendo of the hype of his. I see Brees going as like a top 20 startup pick in terms of a combined draft, and that just seems thick for me. I love how he's a pass catcher, and that provides some good floor, and I love the straight line speed. Like that translates really well in the NFL. But I don't know, man. There's just something about Brees. Maybe it's an it factor or something that's just doesn't have me really in love with him. I'm excited to see where he lands. It's going to be very landing spot dependent on exactly what I want to do with Brees. If he gets a poor landing spot, I'm going to be looking to move off of my 101s. And if he gets a good one, I'll be prepared to take him. If he lands in Buffalo, I'm going to just draft Brees straight up and not worry about it. But maybe he lands in, I don't know.
Houston?
Yeah, Houston. Probably would be looking to
See, I
move.
like that just fine.
Yeah.
I like that just fine. Right?
What about Kansas City? Like that would be.
But I don't mind these guys going to uncompetitive backfields on bad teams. I don't like them going to competitive backfields on bad teams or places where they're not the best back.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are the two bad landing spots, right? So if they're going to an offense that won't score a lot and has other backs, I don't like that. They're going to a place like Houston where like, okay, they're going to be bad, but he'll get 18 touches a game.
Yeah.
And like he'll be fine. And then you hope they get a better quarterback next year. You know?
He tested off the gym at the combine, Brees did. And I think that's why I don't love him so much is because when I watch the film of him and our number 2 guy, like I feel like Brees just kind of out athletics the guys around him as far as the defense. That's kind of how he wins. It's just by being the best athlete on the field and not necessarily the most talented player, if that's a distinction, Yep. So, yeah.
One of the things I see with him sometimes is when it's not blocked well, he is not necessarily elusive in the backfield.
Yes.
Like he's very elusive in the hole or in the second level, but when there is penetration against him, a lot of times he will try the failed spin move and, turn -4 into -5 instead of planting his foot and turning -4 into 0. I see a lot of negative yardage plays out of him for a back of his quality.
What's your favorite comp for Brees? What do you comp him to as far as?
He reminds me a lot of Jonathan Taylor, but not as good at anything.
The JT Light. Yeah.
He has the same skill sets, but he's not quite as good at anything. And bear in mind, Jonathan Taylor landed in a place where they want to use his skill set in the perfect way. So, like, Brees would have to land perfectly to be a poor man's Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you could be 2 tiers down from Jonathan Taylor and be a very good fantasy asset.
I agree. I mean, a lot of what's taken JT to the next level is not necessarily his own talent, but just how good the Colts O-line is and how much they want to use him. I mean, JT's great. Don't get me wrong. But,
right.
He did land perfectly. And so we're hoping that happens for Brees, but so rarely does it.
Yep.
Yeah. Moving on. Number 2 guy. Probably my single favorite player in the entire class is Kenneth Walker III from Michigan State. So we have these backs broken down into tiers, and tier 1 is Brees and Walker.
For both of us?
For me, is it that way for you? Yeah.
It's that way for me too. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And Walker is my favorite player in this group. Watching him makes me happy. He's a good running. He's a good runner. He's a good ball carrier. Right.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's 5'10", 210 pounds, ran a 4.38 40. He transferred to Michigan State after 2 years in Wake Forest. He goes out and wins the Doak Walker Award as the best running back in the country. He has burst and acceleration when he changes direction. He is elusive. He has wiggle. He has long speed, and he has power. He has tremendous contact balance. He does not go down easily at light contact. He runs through arm tackles. He changes direction well, and he has a plus stiff arm. The negative with Kenneth Walker is the passing game. Now, as a receiver, he was rarely used in college, but the limited looks on his tape look like he's fine. And he did fine. He passed the eye test ish at the combine in the hands drills. His route tree is rudimentary, but his pass protection is genuinely atrocious. The tape is terrible, and it's going to be hard for him to be a 3-down back for a year or two.
He has to learn how to pass block. I mean, that's the black and white of it. He
yeah.
It's not that he didn't, like, we say he didn't catch the ball because he didn't really. They didn't throw it to him that much. It doesn't mean he can't do it. They just didn't. They didn't utilize him that way. But he literally is bad at pass blocking. As far as pass blocking, like it's not that he didn't do it. He sucks at it, and we've seen that kind of hobble or gimp running backs. If he was at least an average pass blocker, he would definitely be my number one back in this class. Like, no question.
But he's an elite ball carrier.
Oh yeah, yes.
I don't think there's any question that with the ball in his hand, he's better than Breece Hall.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw this comp out there, but remember, this guy doesn't catch the ball doesn't play the passing game as well. But LaDainian Tomlinson's the comp I'm going to throw out. When I watch Kenneth Walker, I think LT, and LT is one of my favorite all-time players, and I see such similarities in their game. You think it's a fair comp, or where are you at with that?
Yeah, because although he's a better athlete. I mean, LT did a lot with his eyes.
Yeah.
But that's what I like about Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker has great eyes. I love running backs with that. And running back is one of these positions where sometimes the best players do not test fantastically. And that's because it's very hard to measure things like at full speed, do you see where the hole is going to develop or not? Quarterback's another one like that too, right? Because both of those positions are dictating play, and there's a lot of anticipating what's going to be going on, before it happens. And if you're good at that, and that doesn't test at the combine, if you're good at that, there you see running backs that didn't test well who play well.
And how do you measure like contact balance, right? Like Alvin Kamara was like a third-round pick, a middle third when he came out. But when you watch him on the field, like, dudes would just bounce off of him. It's like he's untackleable because uniform's made out of Teflon or butter or something. And I see a lot of those similarities with Walker.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I like him a lot. He's a very good player. He reminds me a little bit of Zeke. That's another guy I think he reminds me of. And I think he could learn to be if he could learn to do what guys like Zeke and Fournette and even Derrick Henry have done in terms of being just a good enough pass blocker and just good enough getting out and catching the ball, then he'll get a lot of dump off passes just because they want to get the ball in his hands. But he's got to be functional at those things. So, some growth there. To me, he is pretty clearly one of the top 3 picks, I think.
I have him penciled in as the 103 rookie right now. And
I like both of these backs more than any wide receiver in this class.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what'll be nifty is if you're sitting there at 4 or 5 in your rookie draft, and a high capital quarterback sneaks in there, a second one, after Malik. Like a receiver gets a great landing spot, London to the Chiefs or something, and all of a sudden maybe you're looking at Walker on the table at your 105. Just take him. Don't even worry about nothing. Just know that you're getting a mega value, and I don't even care where Walker is. He literally anywhere. If you're able to take this guy at the 4 or 5 or even 6 slot of your rookie draft, then you're smashing that. You're not trading that. Nothing.
Here's the thing about him. There's almost nowhere he goes where he won't be the guy they want to give the ball to.
That's why I love him. That's why I love him so much. Yeah.
Yes. Like if Tampa drafted him, right? He's immediately better on first down than Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette's a good player, but this is a better player, right? Like, so yes, he won't get all the snaps, but he's going to get touches immediately and be a focal point of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Houston being not the best spot, but I would actually love Houston for Walker because first of all, it would push him down the draft board, I think, where I might be able to get him later in my rookie drafts. And also, like, Houston doesn't have that much going on in their passing game, so if they drafted him, especially with nice early second round capital, you know he's just getting the rock like 25 times a game, man.
Yep,
And Walker will he'll hit probably a couple home runs with that level much volume.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Tier two. I have tier two. I have only one player in tier two, and that's Isaiah Spiller, Texas A&M running back, 6'1", 215 pounds, ran a disappointing 4.63 at his pro day. So he did not do well at the combine. His jumps were underwhelming. His time, even weight adjusted, is not great. Is poor. It's poor.
Yeah, it is.
To me, he is the key to this class. If you think he's going to be a good starter, not a great starter, but like David Montgomery, like a good, okay, for 4 or 5 years, this is a very solid starter in the league, then this class has some depth.
Yep.
And something to connect the two guys at the top to the speculative pieces. And if you don't, then it's like, okay, well, you better get in the top 3 if you really want a running back that helps you this year, right? If you don't believe in Spiller. And so Spiller and his draft capital are going to be very important. If you get Spiller, let's say with a high 3rd round pick to Houston, like then you've got 3 playable running backs right off the bat.
Yeah, Spiller's very polarizing right now. There's people who are really fading him a lot because of his poor combine. Also, I think it's an important note. Spiller fumbled at like a higher clip than average.
He did. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. It was eight fumbles in his career, which is more than
Yeah, I think Walker and Breeze combined for like 4 through their whole careers. 6. Okay.
between them.
Combined
Yeah.
for 6, and the Spiller's sitting there with 8.
Yeah,
So, like, it's hard,
but...
yeah, to put a lot of weight on that. Like, it's football, you know what I mean? So sometimes the ball comes out a little more.
Yeah.
You know?
This is a guy who's been pushed up, for years as one of the best backs in this class. Then he had kind of a mediocre season, ran a 4.63. And like you said, a lot of people in the community are out. I like this player. I am pretty comfortable considering this player as high as 4.7, 4.8.
Yeah.
Excuse me, 1.7, 1.8.
Yeah, I guess where, like, pre-landing spots, obviously, where does he slot in for you amongst those big 5 or 6 receivers? You know,
So pre-landing spot, he would
Yeah.
be like the guy right after those guys.
like you'd want pretty much like all of them, like
Yep.
Burks and Pickens and London. You all those guys ahead of him. But with landing spot, it could change. You know, any of those
Yes.
receivers lands in Philly or something. Spiller gets nice
Or
capital
gets-
somewhere.
Yeah, well, if Spiller lands, yes, if Spiller lands in a place where either he's been well, and especially if he lands in a place where he's got good draft capital and good opportunity, then he could push as high as 6 to me, conceivably. Listen, I understand why people are down on this guy. Okay, but he does pretty much everything well. This is a back with a 3-down skill set. He has good size. He has good contact balance. He is a good receiver. He does not have long speed, but he has acceleration, right? His his pop when he changes direction and goes through the hole looks absolutely fine on tape. This is also a zone scheme fit guy, right? Whereas I think the last 2 guys are just great running backs.
Yeah.
This is a guy who has really good eyes, sets up his blocks, picks the right hole to cut back into, right? Those are extraordinarily hard things to measure. Except, unless you want to go very basic and like just measure his, yardage and things like that, and just note that he was a very effective running back.
How would you feel about Spiller if he lands in Miami? I mean, you say zone scheme, so that comes to mind as far as running
I think
back
that would be
need.
great. Yeah. No, I think I would if yeah, does he get late second round draft capital there?
I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know exactly where the Dolphins pick. I was thinking
Or
third. I was thinking they
high
spend
third?
high third on him.
Top 75?
Yeah.
I don't remember where they pick either. So top 75 draft capital is a big deal for me.
Yeah.
At running back in particular. Right? Like I think those are the ones, like when guys start tumbling beyond that, I think NFL teams are starting to speculate and not pick guys they're confident in. So I get a little bit squeamish. I think he's going to get second round, get draft capital, or high third. I think, end of the top 75. I think he'll be, but if he goes 95 to Miami or 102 to Miami, then he's a little more Trey Sermon-y, right? I don't want him to look like a Trey Sermon. I want him to look like I want him to look more like a Cam Akers. That's kind of how I want him to get that kind of draft capital.
Miami does have the 102nd pick. You were right. I don't know if you were just spitballing, but you nailed that. Good job.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I actually knew that too. Okay. So yeah, best in zone schemes, not best in power schemes. All right. Do you have any other backs on the second tier?
Yeah, so tier 2, it's tier 1's 2 guys, tier 2 is 2 guys. So I got Spiller and I got Zamir White as part of my tier 2 area. So Zamir White, Georgia tailback. I mean, that honestly kind of separates him from the rest of the guys we're about to talk about. Georgia's been the RB school, the RB house for a while now. But Zamir, he's 6 foot, 214, yeah, 4.4 speed, good pass catching. Yeah, he just didn't. Well, I guess he did stuff with the balls he caught. He just didn't catch that many. The problem is he's a very low sample size from Zamir. Like, Georgia likes to bring in a lot of backs and spell them all, and they're all talented. So we don't have this big volume profile that we have with the guys ahead of him. But how do you feel about Zamir?
I'm a lot lower. Okay, I'm a lot lower on him than you.
That's fair. Yeah.
I have him closer to running back 7. So 6 foot, 214 with 4.4 speed and a great broad jump. This is an explosive athlete. He was the number 9 recruit in the country at all positions out of high school. He has had 2 torn ACLs in college.
I didn't even know that. Wow, that's awful. Yeah.
He has a huge ceiling. I get that. He looks stiff to me. Is that the ACLs? Is that the ACLs and they're going to get better? But he looks stiff to me. He doesn't change direction. This is a guy who he doesn't accelerate real well, right? Like he'll get going and yeah, he has this 4.4 speed, but like he's only really fast by the 5th step. You know what I mean? He's not fast by the 2nd step. So this is a power scheme guy. I'm going to want pulling guards in front of him. This is the most boom bust prospect in the group, I think. But I don't get good vibes from the lack of wiggle. I think he's and that may just be my gut misleading me. Who knows? But yep. I would definitely take him for the upside in the 2nd round. But there are a few other guys here that I have on the same tier who are ahead of him on the tier.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fall off, guys. After those top 2 or 3 we mentioned, it's such a big fall off. Like I have Zamir in this tier only because a lot of the guys I like to listen to have him right around there. And I like the Georgianness.
Yeah, I think there's a big gap between 3 and 4.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. You said that's the thing. If you think the gap between 2 and 3 is bigger than the gap between 3 and 4, this looks like a pretty thin class to you.
Yeah.
I like Spiller. I think he's closer to 2 than he is to 4, and that makes me feel better about this class. And then White is in this big group that we've got behind him that we're about to get into. But I absolutely acknowledge that a bunch of analysts have him in the in that 2nd tier. They're looking for, these are people who were scared by Isaiah Spiller and are looking, for a hot take pivot, and Zamir White tested very well.
Yeah, from wherever Spiller goes, like the 107, 108 area of your rookie draft, maybe 9, whatever, until like 2-6, I'm not taking a running back in that whole area. I'm not. There's receivers. There's probably a quarterback. Unless Zamir gets like really good capital, like late second round pick capital, draft capital dictates a lot, especially these tailbacks. Dictates a lot. I like to think,
I think we will get I actually think we will get a surprise high third round. One of the guys we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
Will get high third round draft capital by surprise in a decent landing spot, and we'll start thinking about him in that 203 area. That's my guess. I just don't know which one.
It's sketchy. Just the backs in that. I've just kind of soured on the running backs in that space of the last few rookie classes, with the exception of like Antonio Gibson, have all kind of flaked pretty hard.
AJ Dillon came around for us.
Yeah, but it was a long wait. Damien Harris did some stuff, but you had to wait.
Damien Harris came around for us.
Yeah,
Devin Singletary won people titles last year. You got to have running backs. It's like, you can
exactly,
you can fade running backs here, but if you fade running backs here, then you have to trade for running backs, right? Or draft them in startups, right? You got to get running backs somewhere, and those are declining assets always, right? So you're either in the older running back game or you're in the drafting running backs when wide receivers seem safe for game.
Yeah.
You got to get in one of these different games, right? And so for me, I like drafting these guys because I've got a lot of young wide receivers, and my young wide receivers aren't going to be fading away in 3 years. They're going to be fading away in 6 years.
Right.
So I can worry about that less.
That makes sense.
So
now we'll move it along here.
Let's move it along to this. So I have tier 3 kind of divided in half.
Yep.
And I have tier 3A is what I call the bargain lead backs, right? So these are guys where you're dreaming about them hitting upside and being a starting regular running back in the league and a nice every week RB2 for you.
Yeah,
right?
being like a Dalvin or a Kareem, guys who were like third round pick, but
maybe
still popped.
Yeah, or even higher than that. Yeah, but, and I think some of these guys may sneak into the third round. A lot of them will get high day 3 capital, like let's say top 150.
Yep.
Right. So somewhere in the 4th or the first 10 picks of the 5th, right? And those guys have a decent success rate. You will find plenty of guys like Ramondre Stevenson, who are drafted, Marlon Mack, guys who are drafted in that range and then go on to take jobs and have productive careers. Jordan Howard, right? So, my favorite guy in this tier is BYU tailback Tyler Algier.
Yep.
He is a 5'11", 224-pound power runner. Kid went unrecruited by Division I schools. Walked on at BYU. Yeah, walked on at BYU as a linebacker. Shifted to running back 2 years ago. Had a 1,000-yard season and then a 1,600-yard, 23 touchdown season last year.
Whew, that's a lot of production.
Throw in 28 catches for 200 yards through the air, and something like a 10% target share on snaps that he was on the field, or snaps where he ran routes, which is very nice for a running back. This is a guy I like a lot. The first thing you will see if you watch tape on him, like certainly the first play you will see, is actually a play where his quarterback throws a pick, and it's clearly going to be a pick six, and he runs it down from behind and knocks the ball loose with just a massive tomahawk chop tackle, and aims it back inbounds away from the sideline. His team recovers. They go on to win the game. It's the kind of hustle play that I think people in the BYU program say or is emblematic of Tyler Algier.
Yeah.
And so, you've got the enormous size, you've got good attitude, guy who works on his craft. And I think this is another guy who is a great zone scheme fit, who has great eyes. One of the things about zone scheme versus power scheme is that like zone schemes let guys with lesser athletic traits play up.
Yeah.
So teams that have zone schemes and then can draft guys a little bit later that fit their scheme, and they end up being very good. Terrell Davis was most famously a 6th round pick, but it happens a lot. This is a guy who fits that mold to me. If he went to Miami at 102, I'd be real excited. Especially if you could still get him late in the second round at the 208, 209 in your rookie draft.
Yeah.
I'd be real excited. He's a little stiff as a route runner, but he has very nice hands.
He's almost like you want him to fall into day 3, just so you can kind of sneaky get him in that late second round of your rookie draft.
Maybe.
Kind of. Yeah.
This is a guy who is a home run hitter. To me, like he has a nose for the end zone. Like he breaks off a lot of 20-yard plays. He does not have long speed, but he has play speed. So this is my favorite guy on this tier. Probably my running back 4 overall. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Algier a lot. A lot of my pundits I've been listening to are really big on him. That production profile, 1,600 yards, 23 touchdowns is whew. And then, just the size, 5'11", 220. I mean, that's a rock. That's a very stout tailback. He's interesting, man. I think if you see someone like him fall into it looks like he's getting drafted to be a handcuff. He could all of a sudden just explode if he gets the opportunity. I look at round 4, and your Broncos have the 115 and 116 back to back, and I feel like there's this foregone conclusion that if Melvin Gordon doesn't resign, Javonte is just this huge mega workhorse guy, and I don't know if that's necessarily true. I feel like Denver, they split their carries almost as part of their scheme. And if Denver gets someone like an Algier, like here in this 4th round area, if he falls that far, he might go in round 2. He might fall down your rookie draft board because of all the Javonte hype forcing this guy down. And then all of a sudden he's getting, 150 carries or something and is very productive with them. You think that's reasonable? Yeah.
Yep, I do. I think that's entirely possible.
Yep.
I don't know that we know what Hackett is going to do as a head coach.
Yeah, right. I guess it is a new head coach in there, so it's hard to say. Yeah.
All right. So the next guy I have is probably I would have called him the running back 4 in the community overall. Mm-hmm. You said you had thought it was Zamir White. But I would have said Damien Pierce is probably the number 4 guy in the eyes of the community. I have him as the running back 5. Damien Pierce out of Florida, 5'10", 217, ran a 4.59. I should have mentioned Algier ran a 4.6 flat. So
a little slower, little bit.
But 4.59 at 7 pounds less, right here. But Pierce is another guy who lacks long speed, who is very productive, who has good vision, good cutbacks, another zone scheme guy. He has a nice spin move. He sets up his blocks well, right? Like he'll press the hole before cutting it. Like, he won't just cut outside. He will take that one dart step inside toward the hole, draw the linebacker in and then go outside. So this is a guy who has a lot of nuance to the way he runs the football.
Yep.
He's also a guy with good hands. He has very good contact balance. He's one of those guys who is thick but short, and has that low center of gravity that helps them, bounce off those hits at the hip. a guy who doesn't go down easily. He's a rising player. He is notably good at pass protection. The negatives here are as follows, right? He played at Florida in what was not a great running back room, and he never wrestled the workhorse job away from the rest of the room. It was always a committee and a heavy committee.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and a heavy committee, right? Like, he was always very productive with his opportunities, but like the coaching staff never saw fit to make him the workhorse. That's a little concerning because it's not like he was up against a bunch of guys who we expect to be playing on Sundays for the next half decade. Now that could have been bad coaching, right? But that's a thing to concern you. And this is a guy who doesn't just lack long speed; he lacks middle speed sometimes too.
Yeah.
Right. Like there are times you'll see a sweep play that looks like he should get the corner and get 12 in a first down and go out of bounds, and like he gets strung out and gets no gain because like somebody coming from an angle that looks like they shouldn't be able to get there does. But like I could see him working as a low end starter in this league. I could see him working as a plus complement, or like the kind of fill-in who, the kind of handcuff back where if the starter goes out, you're like really happy to play him that week.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I don't know, like a Khalil Herbert maybe be a comp.
That
in terms of
yes,
that mold,
I think he's better than Khalil
yeah,
Herbert.
Yeah,
I think like Alexander Madison.
Yeah,
is I think a good comp.
He's violent as heck. I know that from what the research I've done on him. He doesn't really. He's not going to juke someone out. He would much rather just run right through their chest, and he has the power with his lower body to do that. I could see this guy getting a good bit of goal line touches in the league and establishing himself as a goal line type back for whatever team brings him in.
He reminds me a little bit of Matt Forte if you're dreaming on the ceiling.
Yeah,
and I believe he was a 4th round pick. That's the kind of, if you're dreaming on this guy, that I think is where you're at.
I'd love to see this guy land in like the Chargers, and I'm sorry, Eckler owners, but just like where Eckler's like they're all around the field back, and then when they get inside the 10, they just put Pierce in there and to just be this very violent threat, along with everything else the Chargers do that close to the goal line. That
could work. That could definitely work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then I have one more guy in this tier.
Yes, sir.
This is my running back 6. Again, I had Zamir White 7. All 4, in the same tier, but my running back 6 is Brian Robinson from Alabama. Robinson is 6'2", 225. He's the only back in the class who weighed in heavier than Algier, and he ran a 4.53, which is tremendous for that size. He also is an Alabama running back, which bodes well. He is less heralded than the last 3 or 4 Alabama running backs who have come out. He did not really play any significant snaps until this year. That is always worrying, but maybe it's not worrying if he was behind Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, and Najee Harris. I don't know.
The Alabama backs are interesting like that, like you said, because like sometimes they can't distinguish themselves with the overall quality of that team. It's weird. It's like they're receivers. Like what do you do when you have a guy who didn't play, but there's so many other great receivers there? It's like what's going on? I don't know.
Yep.
It's hard to evaluate.
It is. This is not an explosive player, despite the decent long speed. He only had one rush in his career longer than I think 36 yards. For Alabama, like that, 36 yards is a very long run in the NFL, but for an Alabama player, not so much. He has adequate acceleration, adequate burst. He's elusive in the hole, but not so much in the second level. In the second level, he just tries to run people over. He finishes hard for that extra yard. This is like a very lunch pail 2-down running back in my view. But like, there's a very nice place for that in your 3 flex leagues, right?
Sure. Yeah.
This guy could be a very quality flex as the Thunder, half of a Thunder and Lightning tandem somewhere, right? You know, gets none of the passing work, but some goal line work and a decent amount of touches and all that stuff.
Yeah, where's the landing spot you'd like to see? Who could use a back like that to comp? Eckler was the guy who came to my mind earlier. But...
That Eckler works very nicely. But finishing up, this is a guy who does not make great cuts. He has good cutting ability, but he doesn't make good choices with his cuts. He misses holes. He runs too upright. This is a guy who would be better in a power scheme like Zamir White, where like I really think I would love to see him land in
New Orleans, 98, round 3.
Yeah, like Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And like maybe they don't re-sign Penny next year.
Yeah. Seattle makes a lot of sense. I think Pierre would love this guy because he could just keep giving him the rock over and over and over.
Right. We want to pull the guard. We want to run off tackle. We want to put 2 tight ends in. This is a running back who will do well with that stuff.
He basically is Chris Carson, right? I mean, it's a fair comp for him.
That's the kind of that's the style you're going to get from him. Yeah, like poor man's Najee Harris a little bit, like Najee Harris, but not as good at anything.
Sure.
Do you have anybody else in your second tier here, or this third tier, I should say?
Nope. We got Algier, Pierce, Robinson, White. I had Zamir a little higher, but honestly, probably just more belongs among these guys. The hard thing is what to do with Spiller, and that's what makes the tiers all goofball-y. But
yeah, I'm very comfortable with the Spiller, and that's the I bet I get a lot of Spiller because
I feel that
because I feel okay about him. I don't feel fantastic about him. I just feel like you're going to get like a nice running back 2, and you're going to be like, I'm comfortable with this guy, and he's not about to get so old that I need to trade him now.
Yep.
Like, and I'll just plug him in there for 3 years, and then I'll move on from him. Yeah.
Most of these guys are all of these tier 2 guys we're talking about are going to be either 23 or 22 years old when the season starts. Spiller will be just barely 21 years old when the season starts. So you're talking about he's one of the younger guys in the class, and I don't know, some of these dudes are a little older. So whatever that means to you.
Yeah. So then I had those were the tier 3A guys. Those are the guys who they could easily bust. They could easily never, ever, ever be starters. But you can imagine how they develop into guys who have a locked down 15 carry starting running back job in the league. This next group of guys, to me, are more satellite backs. Mm-hmm. But we've also seen in recent years how those guys can be very valuable in Dynasty. I don't see any of these guys carrying the load, but as a satellite back plus, like in a Tony Pollard role, you can get, and then also you could be maybe the handcuff in case the starter gets injured. Like these guys can have some real value. The first guy here is Rashad White of Arizona State. This one, of all the guys we've talked about, you just mentioned age. This guy's a 23-year-old fifth-year senior. Mm-hmm. And given the way running backs age, you don't love that. He is 6'2", 210. So he's like tall and thin.
Yeah.
Which is not great.
Yeah, you don't like that too much.
He also runs kind of upright.
You're not selling him very much.
He had, so he runs a 4.4 840. He has good jumps, which indicates explosiveness. He is a very quick player. He's an elusive cutter who's good in space. He has pretty good long speed for a guy of his size. And he had dominant receiving numbers relative to the running back position. I think he had a target share up over 20% out of the running back position, which is crazy, right? And he ran for 1,000 yards, right? So as a starting 3-down running back, which I don't think he's going to be in the NFL, but as one in college at a major program, he had a dominant target share, right? So that I think is what really makes him stand out as a potential plus satellite back for your dynasty team, right? He's got a very diverse route tree. You can run him in the slot. You can run him on reverses. You can do a lot of that stuff with him. The hands are not great considering how many catches he has, but like he doesn't have a lot of drops, but he has a few and he fights the ball a little bit. He struggles a lot between the tackles, right? I like the player. I think the community might be a touch high on him. I think the community might think he's a 3-down back, and I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a good thing to call him. You think day 3 pick, day 2 pick?
So he is one of these guys who I think might sneak into the 95 to 105 area of the 3rd round.
Sure.
I could see one of these guys do that. I think probably 4th round.
Yeah. But he could contribute from the 4th. I mean, like we said, you're not getting a lot of juice from the day 3 guys, but Rashad White is someone who could set a nice floor as a rookie. Be a startable fantasy asset as a rookie, for sure. I mean, low-end flex.
You can't have, absolutely, and you can't have starting running backs who you trust, who you just don't have room to start. If you've got that,
yeah. Good for you.
You've got to trade. You have to trade that for another. You have to trade that for another position, or else your team is so good that now you're just going to win the title this year, right? Like one of those. So for 99% of us, if we have an extra guy, we have to try. You need guys like this to back up your starters. I think this class, this whole area of this class, has a lot of guys who are going to be quality role players in the NFL, who are going to be spot starters for your dynasty team, who are going to make the difference between getting over the top and not, right?
Like, what's your comp for Rashad White in the league? Sorry, cut you off there.
Gosh, a taller receiving back.
It's hard, yeah. That's why I put you on the spot. It's hard to really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blanking a little bit. He's not terribly unlike James White, actually.
Yeah.
I could see that kind of role for him.
And Naheem Hines, but like with not as much straight line speed.
Yeah, I think he's better on the ball though. I think he's a little more elusive with the ball in his hands than Naheem Hines. I don't really know yet. Like he's built a little like Cordero Patterson, honestly.
Okay.
So
yeah, Patterson's oversized for whatever he does.
This is what we're talking about, right? Yep. He's built a little bit like that.
Makes sense.
Okay, next guy, Kyron Williams, Notre Dame.
Yeah, so I got 10 guys deep, and Kyron's 10 out of 10. And like, I have not watched. If you can't tell, I haven't watched that much film for my own take. Greg has, and that's why he's really breaking him down. But Kyron was a guy, but I have been doing a lot of research as far as like staying on the beat of the community. Kyron was a 1st-round pick in a rookie draft. If you'd have rookie drafted 3 months ago, if you were doing it in like December, a lot of people love Kyron Williams, or at least they did. But his combine was atrocious. So you're talking about a guy, Notre Dame graduate, 5'10", 195. He ran a 4.6 at the combine. But he gets touted as a pass blocker, right? Like that's one of his big strengths is he does pass block really well. But there's doubts on his talent with the ball.
He had a disastrous combine. He was last. He was last in the 40s. He was he was last in a lot of the testing stuff. He really looked terrible. The tape guys like him. The analytics guys don't like him. This is one of those splits, right? He's too small to be an every down back. And he's not fast. And he goes down to contact pretty easily. And he doesn't accelerate in short spaces. Okay. Now, he runs great routes. He has great hands. He is a very good pass blocker. There's a place in the league for an elite satellite back, right? So depending on your kind of league, I think there's a floor here. He's going to be a very good player in those regards. He also has good vision. So sometimes, he'll see a hole that is hard to see and make a cut and get through it and scoot downhill. So there are reasons people like Kyron Williams. I'm just not sold on him overcoming the limited athleticism.
Yeah, I agree. I think of Kenneth Gainwell from last year, a guy who was kind of highly touted for a bit, ended up falling down the draft board, and then all of a sudden actually, produced a little bit. Not a great clip, but had some relevant games and kind of had a little bit of hype for a while in the middle of the season. I think that might be what we're looking at with Kyron Williams. Is a Gainwell-esque arc for his rookie season.
Potentially, yeah. Okay, and the last guy I have in this satellite back group, I like him better than Kyron Williams. So Rashad White at 6'2", 210 can handle a little bit of workload. I think he's a satellite back, but there's some debate. Kyron Williams and James Cook of Georgia are both just pure satellite backs, right? Those guys are under 200. James Cook is 5'11", 110 pounds, runs a 4.2 40. This is Dalvin Cook's younger brother.
Yep.
But this is not Dalvin Cook.
He looks just like Dalvin.
do not get sucked in by the name. This is not the same player. This is not as good of a player. Do not go down the Riley Ridley route.
I was on that path for a minute. I had some taxi Riley Ridleys.
Don't be taxiing Randy Moss's kid. Right, Thaddeus Moss. Right? No, we're not doing that.
Is that his kid?
James Cook.
Is that true?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So.
That's his son.
I'm almost certain that's. I'm pretty sure.
I remember. Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
Let's go back to James Cook.
Yeah.
I believe that's why everybody was taxiing him, even though he was undrafted. But yeah, so don't get sucked in by the name here. That said, I think James Cook will go on day 3 high, and could go on day 2 to a good team that has. It's not wants a Naheem Hines to go with their 2-down running back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Pittsburgh wants a guy to go behind, to catch balls and take some of those snaps away from Najee, right? So I could see him going on day 2 to a place like that. He is a solid runner. He has good quickness. He makes guys miss. He reminds me a little bit of Work Done, where sometimes he carries the ball and you're like, oh yeah, I could see him. He has some skills that look like an every down runner. And then he's just not big enough at the end of the day. At the end of the day, he's a glorified satellite back. He across his career, he averaged 6.5 yards per carry, which is outstanding.
That's really good.
His career high in carries is 12 in a game. Yeah. So, and
how do you rectify that? Yeah, it's so rough.
He's tiny. He's going to catch passes. He gets brought down by arm tackles too often to be an interior player. He does not have good functional play strength. He is a willing pass blocker, and he makes good decisions. He doesn't get tricked by stunts and things like that. But then he has poor functional play strength, and it's hard for him to hold up. On the other hand, he is a hands catcher, not a body catcher. He can easily contribute in the slot. You can, split him out against a linebacker, walk him off against a linebacker, and create mismatches, right? So there's a lot to like about him, but I can't say this enough. You are not getting a cheap version of Dalvin Cook, right? This is not an every down player. This is a premium satellite back if everything comes together.
Yeah, I get guilty of that a little bit. I mean, a little bit where family, professional athlete family types. A big reason I liked Michael Pittman a lot as a rookie, and I had a good bit of Pittman, is because his dad played. And like with James Cook, I think there is a degree, obviously not the same talent, but there's a degree of safety baked in because his older brother's a professional football player for a while. Like, this is someone who's seen what it takes to do this, firsthand. He knows how you have to live your life in order to be a back in the NFL. So there's some amount of safety baked into Cook. Uh, we'll see what kind of capital he gets. I don't imagine I'll be getting very much James Cook because I think he's gonna get drafted among receivers I like more. So I'll probably just be looking for
I think you
receivers.
may be right.
Yeah, I think someone else in your rookie draft is going to reach on James Cook, and don't feel bad you missed out.
Yep.
So of the three satellite backs, yeah, we talk about Rashad, talk about Kyran and Cook, and even the guys previously. This whole tier 3 area. Who out of all these dudes, Algier, Pierce, who do you really like? If you could only have one of these dudes, Zamir, for your dynasty team, you only get one of them. Who do you like the most?
It's Algier.
Yeah,
I really like Tyler Algier.
that's what it sounded like. Yep.
I think he has some subtle things, but I'm not going to go crazy to get up 2 spots and get him if Brian Robinson is there, or I feel Brian Robinson is like safer than Algier.
Sure.
I just think Algier has a little bit more of a potential star turn, and I think like Damien Pierce. I think Damien Pierce might get better draft capital too. Like I think he's buzzy at the NFL draft right now.
Yeah, he is.
So like all of those guys, I'm willing to get shares of all of these guys, especially on my rebuilding rosters, and see how they shake out in a year. Because if you were to get 3 of these 6 guys and one of them panned out, they'd be worth more than 3 late second, early third round picks.
Yes, sir.
Just one of them.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, yeah. All right. So now let's get a little deeper in this draft. I've got a tier 4, and that starts with Pierre Strong. Pierre Strong is a 5'11", 205-pound running back from South Dakota State. He ran a 4.37 40 at the combine. Now, you'll notice at a lot of these positions we've gone through, we've seen a lot of small school guys. You don't see that here, right? We had Liberty, we had guys from Alabama A&M and from North Dakota State, and all, at the wide receiver positions. It's mostly big school guys here. And that's because you can, I think this is an easier position for recruiters to figure out. Guys don't make it down to the lower levels. It's an easy position to transition, right? So if you start popping, you transfer up. So to see a guy come all the way out from South Dakota State, like that alone has to be a red flag, right?
Yeah.
But if you're going to take a chance on them, they better have dominated. And Pierre Strong was a dominating player at the FCS level. So if you're going to take a day 3 dart on a guy who has upside, this is it. This is another guy who has good vision and would work well in the zone scheme. He picks good holes. He has quick feet. And of course, we know he has the long speed. He bursts in and out of cuts really well. He has some wiggle when he gets met with a defender in the hole. He sets up his second level defenders nicely by pressing the line again. He's a little small to be an every down runner. The hands are good. The route tree is solid. The pass pro technique is poor, but he is a willing and aggressive pass protector. He often gets fooled by stunts, which, again, like coming from an FCS program, okay, so maybe it takes him a little bit to get on the field. This is a guy who has ceiling, and that's why people like him in tier 4.
Yeah, you think he's like a Mitchell type, Mitchell-esque.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, James Robinson. We're looking for one of these guys to pop from late.
Yep.
Pierre Strong is an obvious choice. Next guy, Tyler Beatty.
Is it Beatty or Batty? Do you know for sure?
I believe it's Beatty.
Beatty. All right.
No, I don't know. I don't know for sure. I've heard it pronounced both ways.
Yeah.
broadcasters, so they don't know.
They don't know.
Um,
Broadcasters, I'm telling you right now, guys, when a broadcaster says a name, they don't know, okay? They're guessing out there. So just so you know that. Look it up. Sorry. It's a little,
so
little pet peeve of mine.
yeah, no. The good ones know. They're supposed to know. So 5'8", 194, ran a 4.45, leading rusher in the SEC last year, 23 years old, at late age for a breakout season, had done very little before that. He has 5 career 250-yard rushing games. I believe all of them were this season. This is a guy who is going to be a role player at the next level, but he catches passes well, and he looks like an interesting role player to me. So again, if you're in a league that is a full PPR league, this is a guy you can get in the 4th round and develop him into an injury away guy and a bye week pivot.
Yeah, the last guy we talked about, Strong, and it says here on NFL.com it's Beatty. So take that for what you will.
Okay, Beatty.
But Strong and Beatty are 2 guys I'm definitely targeting in my 4th rookie round and probably late 3rd. So of all the dudes here in the chunk bottom, these are the 2 we like the most that we're really going to be looking.
I think my second favorite is actually Jerome Ford, the next guy.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Over Beatty. I like Strong and then Ford probably, and then Beatty. Jerome Ford at Cincinnati. This is an Alabama transfer. So this is a guy who, rather than waiting out all those other guys we saw at Alabama, he was recruited to Alabama. Rather than waiting it out, he went over to Cincinnati, had a very productive career. 5'11", 210, ran a 4.48, gets what is blocked between the tackles. This is not an elite player, but this is a good player, right? This is like rock solid is what I think of Jerome Ford. He's patient. He lets things develop. Good change of direction, good burst. This is a guy who could actually, I think, play in any running system. He does not have home run speed. He gets run down a lot. He has serious ball security issues, but he is solid in pass pro. He makes one cut and goes downhill. His hands are fine, but his route tree is non-existent. You would have to work on that at the next level. I see this as a very functional first and second down player who you could work on toward being a 3-down back. Never an elite one, but reliable.
He's a real ball of clay type from this area. Like has the tools, but not the polish that could put him up there. So if he lands in the right, he could play in any system, but the right coach could get a lot more out of him. I imagine.
I think that's right. And then I think we're running long. I think that's pretty good. So I'll just go through the next handful of guys that I've got.
Yeah.
These are only for your deeper drafts, unless they get great draft capital. But I want you to hear the names out there, right? In case they get better draft capital. In case one of these guys, somebody falls in love with them, drafts them in the high 4th round, and all of a sudden you're saying, maybe this is a late 3rd round rookie pick for me, right? So Hassan Haskins of Michigan, 6'1", 220 pounds, had an ankle injury, didn't run the 40, but there are concerns that he didn't run the 40 because he's a 4.7, 4.8 guy. Okay. He's a big guy. He's a tough guy. He does everything okay. He doesn't do anything great, but he's one of those guys coaches and teammates will like because he, runs like a truck. Violent runner is something I wrote down in my notes. Very productive profile, right? So there are things you like about this guy, and it's not like he ran slow. He avoided running, so who knows? He is a good pass protector. There are some people who think that this is a guy who profiles as an oversized 3rd down back because he's such a good pass protector. He has mediocre speed, burst, and contact balance, and that limits his overall game. That's what I've got for him. But I feel like this is a guy who's going to play in the league for 5 years. So, like, in your 32-team league, someone needs to be drafting Hassan Haskins, right? Um, and let me give you a handful of dart throws down here. This is my tier 5, and I'm going to be brief with these dudes. First name Kevin Harris. Oh, I have. We have now reached the end of the tape I've watched.
Yeah, now we're just talking about dudes.
Okay. Yeah. So I have not seen Kevin Harris. Kevin Harris had a great 2020, and people were talking him up like a day 1 pick.
Really?
And then he had some nagging injuries and kind of lost his job. Had a terrible year. He's 5'10", 220-pound back from South Carolina. Did not run, but did jump, and his broad and vertical jumps were both top 3. So this is a guy with explosive athleticism. This is a one-cut and downhill guy, right? This is not a guy who's going to make jitterbug moves. This is not a guy who's going to think about it real long. This is a guy who's going to get up ahead of steam and go. This is a sleeper. This is a classic sleeper guy, right? So a lot of the sharp people who do Devi and stuff like that are thinking this is the guy they want in the late 3rd, early 4th, when no one else is
of the Devi
when no one
draft,
else is looking. No, of this year's the people who play, they're thinking, okay, when no one else is paying attention, and and everybody else is like, I don't know anything about these, right? Because the Robinson Zamir White tier is gone, and people are just throwing darts. A lot of the Devi people are like, I'm going to get Kevin Harris and see if he goes back to his 2020 form.
Yeah, he could be like a UFA type that pops.
I think,
do you think he gets drafted? He probably gets drafted.
Oh, he gets drafted.
Okay. Yep.
Then we got Tyler Goodson, Iowa, 5'10", 200, 4'4", 240. This is an older, fairly well-developed prospect. He goes down too easily to light contact, but he is a guy who profiles as a nice receiving back, and some people like him. Abram Smith. This is a guy who I haven't watched tape on, but this is a guy who I watched at the Senior Bowl, and in the Senior Bowl practices, who impressed me. This is a guy who converted to linebacker in 2020 from running back. And then they converted him back to running back in 2021 when they had a bunch of injuries, and he went for 1,600 yards.
Ooh, pretty good.
At Baylor.
Yeah.
6 foot, 215. This is a patient runner who is going to be... I think this is a 6th-round draft pick, but this is a guy like Khalil Herbert who, if you get him in the right scheme, one cut and down the hill, he's going to be effective. He runs violently after his one cut. He lacks long speed. He also lacks the speed to beat linebackers to the edge. He's not a fast player. He's a mediocre blocker. He's a terrible pass catcher. This is a 2-down grinder that you can get in the 4th round of your draft. And it shouldn't shock you if one year he he's the starting running back for a bad team somewhere. Yeah. Right. And
it's like one big pop season. Yeah.
Yes. The final name I'm going to give you here. So we started with Breece Hall, who was 220 and ran a 4.39. That was the second best weight adjusted 40 time in the class. And now, after all those other guys, we're going to get to the best one. That's Isaiah Pacheco from Rutgers.
Pacheco.
Yeah. So at 216 pounds, he ran 4.37.
That's nuts for that size. That's insane.
Yeah. And he has receiving skills. His vision and instincts as a runner are lacking, according to people who have watched tape on him, who I trust, which is not me. I haven't watched much of his tape. Right? Yeah. I haven't watched anything of him. I've seen highlight packages at best. So if he gets draft capital, that's a guy to follow, right? So
you mean like any capital, like a 6th-round pick?
No. I think he will get a 6th. I think he's projected as a 6th or 7th round player.
Right, but if he randomly goes on day 2,
150. No, fourth round.
Yeah.
Somebody reaches for him in the fourth round, you go, okay.
He seems like a 49er with that speed.
Somebody has a plan for a guy with some really good athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, I'm very interested in, right? So, he's projected as a 6th or 7th round guy. If he goes top 150, I'm interested.
Yeah, if some coach thinks they can coach him up and then does it, all of a sudden you have a real fantasy asset right here, right? It's kind of the case you're making.
Exactly, right? So go back and look at some of your drafts that go 5 rounds and go look at all of them, and then you're like, oh, how did that one person figure out to go with James Robinson and not guy I had forgotten from 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm. Greg Dortch.
And not Greg Dortch. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like you have some ideas of these names, and then maybe somebody goes a little higher, and then all of a sudden, boom, that's the guy you're going to try to pop with. Keep that name in mind, just because of the testing and athleticism.
I want to throw another name out there at you. We actually don't have any comments made, but I drafted this guy in the 24th round of my recent startup. Ty Davis Price. Does that do anything for you? You know anything about him?
Yeah, LSU, right?
Yes, sir. Big boy. He's like 6'2".
Yeah.
Good speed.
I don't know enough about him.
Sure.
He is a guy had this list been about 3 names longer, he would have been on it. But as you can see, this recording is getting long enough that I decided to cut it off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Ty Davis Price is a hefty player who
it says
has
4.48
good height
speed
and speed.
With 6'1"
Yeah,
and
good.
225. That's
good
good
size speed. Absolutely, good size speed. One of the better size speed combos in the class. And he was getting hype a year ago. I will tell you this. I like to listen for the people who play Devi and guys that they used to like, or guys that they were high on who didn't hit. These are guys I like to take in the late 3rd, 4th, and especially any rookie drafts where I have 5 and 6 rounds.
That's a smart money. Yeah.
Right. I'm always okay. Maybe they're the classic better pro than they were a college player. Ty Davis Price fits that mold. So I like that. I like that name for you. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're 1:15. We'll cut it off here shortly. There you go. Those are all your running backs. You know who all the sleepers are. You're going to hit all the home runs in your 3rd and 4th round. You heard it here first. Go get Tyler Algier. Greg's putting his whole reputation on Tyler Algier right now. But,
no, I mean, these are dart throws, but that's the one where the odds feel really nice to me.
I like that. If you really need a running back,
2-6.
Go trade into the top 5 picks of your draft. Okay, I mean, or you can mess around with Spiller maybe, and that's fine. I think Spiller will ultimately be a value when it's all said and done, because he's gonna get faded for no reason.
That's what I'm hoping.
But if you really need a tailback, if you're like, boy, this I got everything I need. I got all the wide receivers. I got my quarterbacks are stacked up. I got Mark Andrews. I need an RB2 and I can go for a title. Then go do what you need to do and go trade up into the top 5 and get a Walker or a Brees. It's worth it. Those 2 guys are the standouts.
I'm going to say this though: do not trade up below 3. Do not trade up below 3 where you're like, well, it's an overpay, but I need to go get Walker.
I don't think Walker makes it to 4. Yeah, I don't.
He might. I mean, I'm not saying he won't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he won't. But you can't do that now because the draft capital could make it so that he's a slam dunk 3, and all of a sudden you're sitting there having, shot your shot, and you're not going to get him, and you got to move up further with a second deal, pay a second premium, right? So you might want to wait for the NFL draft before you go moving up for these guys.
I agree. If no other quarterback gets high capital, beyond, I don't even know any names, probably Malik, but assuming no other quarterback goes in the top 20, then no other quarterback is going to warrant a top 5 rookie pick. I mean, for the most part, right? So
yeah, it's
like you're, if you can't expect to get a running back at 4, you can't expect
it's the wide receivers.
Yeah, exactly.
I think as of now, in most of the mocks I've been seeing and doing, the wide receivers are going over Kenneth Walker. He is falling, but
Yeah,
I feel like the draft capital is going to shake out where that's not true anymore.
I think it's going to shift. Walker's hitting this real. The
Yeah.
next 2 weeks are going to be the Walker time, where more and more people are like me and just cheesing about him and selling him to the community. So,
and also if you've got like the 108, don't think I have to trade up for Walker and Hall now. Wait for the draft capital on Spiller, right? Because if he goes 55 to a strong spot and now there's 3 in the draft, then you can make different decisions.
And he'll probably get forced down to you. I mean, we're talking about Malik, 2 running backs and 5 receivers. So math, that's 8. Okay,
Yeah.
so you'll probably see Spiller at your 108, 109. Like the rest of your league's gonna fade him. They're gonna fall in love with a Jameson or something. So sit tight. Don't make those moves unless it is draft day, unless that guy's sitting there at 103 and he's saying, hey, this is on the block, and he's being an idiot and taking, maybe you poke him about it, maybe you probe him. Don't overpay, but just see where he's at. Sometimes you can find the value there. But if the value's not there, sit and wait for Spiller.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But that'll do it, guys. Hit me up on Sleeper, Stosh X. We're still looking for like a visual graphics coordinator type person that wants to come in and help out with that. So if that's you, then let me know, and we can work something out. We'll be making some Dynasty trade videos upcoming. We'll do a tight ends video. I have another league to break down. Greg is actually in a league right now where he has, 6 or 7 23 first-round picks? Some crazy thing?
I got 5.
Okay. Yeah.
I got 5 and 7 seconds.
There you go. We'll probably be making a video about that. Because I love making whole videos about other people's boards.
Yeah. All right. You want to break down my draft? Yeah. Go for it.
We'll do it together. How about that?
We'll do it together. All right. Yeah. I'll tell you. That league is crazy. We're up near 50 trades. I made 2 more today. We're in the teams rounds. I made 2 trades today. I traded off both my 14th round picks for 23 seconds.
That's really good. That's great for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
50 total trades in a whole draft process.
Oh, we're only in the 15th round. I mean, it's insane.
That's absurd. That's so many.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like it. So we're still going. Hopefully we'll be done by draft day. All right, Tony. Looking forward to getting back together to break down that draft and break down the tight ends from this class. I know you and I might not see eye to eye on the strengths of this tight ends class. So we'll have another conversation next time.
I am excited for you to enlighten me on the tight ends. But I need to watch some film on them because I haven't watched that much, honestly.
Here, listen, if you play in a 1 tight end, no premium league, I'll save you the time. You don't have to listen to the tight end show. None of these guys are top 4 at the position guys, which is the only thing that matters in 1 tight end, no premium.
Totally.
But if you play premiums where you can flex tight ends, or you play 2 tight end leagues where you need tight end 2s, this is a very interesting draft that has like a very broad group of interesting high tight end 2 prospects.
There's a lot of move tight ends, a lot of like a Trey Burton, Eric Ebron, David Njoku type pass catcher tight end. There's a good chunk of those right at the top, dudes who have real pass catching chops and the size to do it. But God bless you out there. Thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button. Become a first round pick today. Multiple first Dynasty football. That's what we do, baby. Have a wonderful night.